These new cards are just what this forgotten pivot of Master Duel we're waiting on. It's time to play some punks. It's no secret that Punk is one of the most popular decks on this channel, but it has been quite a long time since we've seen any Punk deck, and while that is due in no small part to the banning of Chaos Ruler, which is something that needed to happen, the deck itself was still always relatively playable, but it just never really got anything in the way of direct or even indirect support. However, in the most recent pack, we have had two brand new powerful Punk cards released. We've got a No Punk Raising Scale and the Punk Jam Fever. Raising Scale has to be one of the craziest extenders I've ever seen in a deck, and it can even act as a starter in a situation where you've already attempted to make some sort of other play. This card is absolutely broken. We've also got Jam Fever, which basically acts as just an extra monster to get on your end board. So we're seeing cards that increase the ceiling of Punks while also maintaining the sort of gas, increasing the ability to play 3 hand traps. We don't have any more one-card starters per se, other than an additional copy of Vitaly. But the deck's resilience to hand traps now because of Raising Scale and the extra monster negate that you can very easily set up pre-5 summons means that your deck is nib-proof now, which is a huge issue, at least if Nibiru was more prominent. Back whenever this deck was more popular, Nibiru was very popular as well, so that was always a problem. Now it's not, because Jam Fever makes you nib-proof, so even if Nib's popularity picks up, Punk is not going to care. But Raising Scale is the star of the show in my opinion, being able to special summon itself from the hand by paying 600 life points, and then adding to hand or special summoning a Punk monster directly from deck or graveyard is just exactly what this deck needed. So we're going to hop in the ranks, we're going to play a couple of ranked games. I believe we're Diamond 3 at the minute. We've been just wrecking people with heroes, so this is going to be a nice change of pace from the fusion based hero deck, getting to see a whole range of summoning mechanics and different combo styles, so it's going to be an awful lot of fun. We're going to hop in, play a few games live. I'm going to do a deck profile at the end, very basic one. So of course, if you want to catch more content like this or our live streams, make sure you subscribe to catch things as they come out. I'm not going to ramble too much here at the beginning. Leave a like and let's get into it. Alright, getting into our first game, we did lose a coin toss, so our opponent's going to be going first here. Let's see what they managed to put up, and more importantly, if we can break it. Alright, it looks like using our Ash Blossom on the Centurion Primera was sufficient to hold our opponent back, and now we're getting into our turn. So let's see if our opponent has any hand traps or interruptions that they can use to stop us, because if not, this game is over. Now, typically having a hand of all Punk monsters isn't really all that great, especially whenever you start seeing the one of level 3s. It's not end of the world bad, but it's definitely not ideal. So we're going to drop the Ogre Dance from our hand here, see if we can beat a potential Ash Blossom or something of that nature. Or he could, of course, chain his Trudea. Trudea will summon itself out to the field, choosing whether or not it wants to be a level 4 or level 8 monster. He does not have the field spell, which means he does not have the ability to synchro summon. We're just going to grab a second copy of Azamina here. We don't got to get fancy with it. Droll and Lockbird really sucks. Oh, Droll really sucks. Oh, that might kill my whole turn. Alright, let's normal summon our Sharkusai then. So now we're having to play a very different game. We're going to start by activating the Sharkusai's effect, paying 600 life points, getting Imperm. That's fine. All part of the plan, honestly. I'll take that. That's fine. Now we're going to go for Deer Note's effect. We're going to reveal a Xiamen. We're going to special summon the Deer Note to the field by discarding the Xiamen. I'm going to go for the Ryzen anyway. This is fine. This isn't a huge deal. So we're going to go drag out Ryzen. Deer Note then is going to activate to bring back a monster from our graveyard. We're going to bring back, I believe, the Sharkusai. We could just bring back Ogre Dance, and then we can go into the rank 8. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. That's more powerful interaction into Centurion in particular than the bouncing back to hand. I would rather not bounce these cards back to his hand and give him the ability to combo off next turn. That doesn't sound very smart to me. So what we're going to do instead is we're simply going to put the pause on him. Me and 2. Now we can go into an 8. I don't have a water monster in grave, otherwise I would just keep drag out. So we're going to go into Hope Harbinger here instead. This is fine. Not ideal, but it's fine. It all worked out. Let's see if our opponent now can deal with a Harbinger with 3 cards in hand. Okay, now here's part of the reason we like the Harbinger so much, right? So what's going to happen here, basically, is Primera is going to have to search for a spell card to get their plays going. Yeah, because they need the field spell, or they need Wake Up Centurion, or they need something that's actually going to get their plays moving. So I'm not going to negate this card's activation, because by itself, this card doesn't do anything right away. So he's likely not even going to activate it. Yeah, that's totally fine, because then I can just see if my spell negate for his turn. Now, this card here may be a card he can use to deal with my Hope Harbinger, and if that's the case, then, you know, it sucks to be us, but under any other circumstances, we should be fine. You know what? I realize now that the field spell protects itself, so getting ashed on the E-Tele here is so fine. I really do not care about that whatsoever. He doesn't have a single super threatening 12 he can go into, so even if this resolves, like if this back row is something that can negate my Harbinger, he doesn't really have anything he can go into that's like ridiculously threatening. But I will yoink that spell card if he's got no way of stopping it. Alright, beautiful. Let's go for Wagon here. The Wagon has the ability to pay 600 life points to search our deck for the Punk field spell, which is very, very useful. The field spell's fucking crazy. We're going to use the field spell now. Activating its effect, we're going to banish a card from our graveyard. So let's banish the Deer Note. We do run 2 Deer Note, so that's fine. We're going to special summon Azamina from hand. Now we go Azamina. Azamina pay 600. Called by... I can't believe that. That's crazy. Called by on the Azamina that's already in my graveyard. Motherfucker. It's fine. We still get to draw 1 off the field spell, which is nice. So, we drew our last Azamina. Alright, this... this has been a weird game so far. I don't really have a way to deal with both of you. I'm going to have to go Almirage. Which is fine. We go Almirage here using the Wagon. Then we're going to go Azamina and Almirage into SP. And because we're using Almirage, that means we get the banish on summon, basically, is the reason we're doing this. So we SP Little Knight. Using her effect, we get the banish a card on the field. We're going to banish the Trudea. Into the battle phase, then we'll take out the Primera. We, of course, can't attack directly this turn, thanks to SP Little Knight's effect. But again, we're putting just our opponent in a position where they don't have a lot of cards that allow them to do much. Primera by itself, without a discard cost, is not full combo. Field Spell is not full combo. And Trudea, again, is not full combo. There's no real one-card starters in Centurion that can operate without a discard. So as long as we kept our opponent's resources down and kept ourselves ahead and in control of the game, they just wouldn't have had the gas to overcome us. It is a little bit awkward that we get put in a tough spot there by that Duel on turn 1. But hey, we came out on top. Game 2. Alrighty, so winning a coin toss. Let's see if our opponent wants to stick around long enough for us to play cards. Yep, looks like they're not instantly surrendering, so let's see if it stays that way. We're going to go for Ogre Dance here. Ogre Dance discarding itself to grab us another Punk from deck. So I think in this circumstance, we're going to be grabbing Deer Note because it's going to serve as a useful extender if we need it to. Now we're going to go for the Wagon. Wagon activating its effect. We're going to grab ourselves the field spell. Beautiful. Now, field spell being activated early means that we're going to be drawing some extra cards earlier in our turn than we normally would. We're going to go for the Foxy Tune's effect here. Foxy Tune going to discard itself and an additional card to special summon a Punk from deck. We are going to get max seed, which does suck. That's fine. Let's discard. Honestly, I was going to discard Nib. I think what's going to happen instead is I'm going to discard the Deer Note. And we're going to special summon the Madame Spider. Activating Madame Spider. We're going to pay 600. We're going to grab the Dangerous Gobby from our deck, which is basically a negate. That'll trigger our field spell to let us draw a card as well. Drawing into Max C. Okay. Right. Yeah, I think this is fine. That's fine. We don't need to play too hard in the Maxi here. The draw power of our deck, as well as the hand traps that we got, are going to allow us to play through this here. So, let's see what our opponent does in the face of the Maxi and the Nibiru. Oh, Nib's going to hurt a lot into Lyrilusc. I'm going to go Maxi here. Let's see if he has anything for this. It's only fur. Can't cringe, but okay. So Lyrilusc in particular has a point in their combo where they want to go for UDF and to try and protect themselves from the likes of Nibiru. So what we're going to do is we're going to wait until he summons out the Utopic Future, and that's when we're going to hit him with the Nibiru. So let's see what our opponent wants to do. I'm going to use it right now. Alright, so we hit the double recital Starling with our Nib. That means effectively he may struggle to go for game here. It's going to be very difficult for him to put up Utopic Draco Future as well. Hopefully that's enough, but if we know anything about Lyrilusc, it's that Lyrilusc really knows when to stop. Never mind. I was kind of convinced he was going to play a little bit past that point, but if he's not going to do that, then that suits me just fine. Okay. So, unfortunately, this does nothing. So we are, unfortunately, just going to have to pass on this. Let's see if our opponent can do anything about the second Max C, though. A second Max C has hit. No. Okay, so if he decides to combo this turn, then we're drawing cards. And hopefully, we can stop our opponent from actually going for game. Let's see what happens. Oh, no. Fair enough. Sometimes it happens, right? Can't be too mad about that. Max C, definitely a polarizing card. More of an issue for Punks than most. Punks definitely doesn't really have a fantastic set of plays it can do under Max C. Normally, you can do something, like maybe get an interruption or two without giving your opponent really very many draws. But it definitely struggles, especially if you just don't top deck the right card going next, right? I mean, it's just the way Max C works, man. It's just Max C. It just happens, right? All right, losing the coin toss this time, being made to go second, which is slightly unfortunate, but our hand is pretty fucking nice. So especially considering our opponent's now under Max C, I'm fairly confident in saying that we definitely have the capacity of winning this game. I also think this is a really good opportunity to just imperm off rip, because he effectively now has to start special summoning or he has to pass on nothing, and my board and my hand will not forgive him passing on nothing. So let's see if he's willing to play the game. No, he decided he's just going to set one and pass. Let's see if he sticks around, because like I said, my hand is not going to forgive setting and passing. Special summoning out the Kashtira Unicorn. Effect Vealer. Okay, gonna go for the Vealer a little bit early, in my opinion, but, you know, to each their own. I'm gonna normal summon then the Azamina. Okay, well, first I'll activate the field spell. See what that back row is. Okay, it's not activatable. Now we're gonna go for Azamina. Okay, it was activatable on the summon of Azamina, so it could definitely be an imperm. Or another Vealer. Okay, right. I guess I mean, set one and just have a bajillion hand traps. That's definitely a way of surviving the Max C challenge. That's fair. I respect it. We do still get to draw off our field spell, which is nice. Activating Baron's effect. We're going to target the back row here. It is an imperm. Okay, that's fine. I can live with an imperm. And this is part of why I love the Kashtira engine in particular, is that in these positions where you do get hit with billion hand traps, it means that you've virtually always got the ability to go into something, and you can play through things, you can force interactions much more consistently than you would with other engines. So I used to just play a whole bunch of hand traps in the place of the Kashtira engine, but as we can see, hand traps aren't nearly as effective as the Kashtira monsters. I think that Kash is an inherent part of Punk. I don't really think you want to separate the two of them unless you have another mix in mind. But again, this is the power of the Kash cards, right? Punk by itself wouldn't have did very much here because of all of those hand traps. Kash really helped plug that gap. Alright, into our Damned 1 rank up match, I guess. I didn't realize we were pushing rank today, but apparently we are. We're going to start our turn by activating the Ogre Dance to beat a potential Ash Blossom. We do have Called By for a Droll, so, you know, I learned my lesson after last time. Nothing at all, really. He's got nothing. I'm going to go Sharkusai here. The less greedy play. We played greedy last time, and I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure we got punished for it. So we're going to normal summon the Azamina here. Going to activate its effect to get searching. We're going to grab Rising Skills directly from our deck and add it to our hand. Because we activated the Ogre Dance, we already have a Punk Engrave for us to banish for Rising Skills effect, which is awesome. So we get to immediately go in the Rising Skills here. We're going to activate Rising Skills effect. We're going to play... you've got a couple of options here. I'm going to play Wagon. I like having the field spell up early. It means that if I get nibbed or if we get some sort of interruption, then we can use the Wagon and the field spell to get us some more advantage. So we have summoned here 3 times. I wonder, do we do the nib proof line? Do we think you might have nib? You know what? We got the field spell up. Let's do it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go for Wagon plus Rising Scale into our Amazing Dragon. So this is summon number 4, I believe. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So you could go for this guy directly into Jam Fever right now, right? And that means you're nib proof for the rest of your line. You go Extreme Session, summon Sharkusai, play the game 100%, right? Nib proof and perfect. I'm going to activate this anyway. This is going to put us over the total number of summons. It's going to put us over it by 1. Sue me. I'm going to summon out Rising Skills again. If he nibs us now, then our play doesn't change, right? I'm thinking about it like this. If he nibs us now, then we go Field Spell, summon Sharkusai, fuse to the whole play anyway. If he doesn't nib us now, then we have full combo and we're protected from nib. So that would have been the one and only chance for him to activate Nibiru. We really don't want to banish Wagon from our graveyard. We want to keep as many level 3 tuners in our graveyard as possible. So we're going to go for Deer Note to summon out the Sharkusai instead of using the field spell. So there we go. We're going to activate the Sharkusai's effect. We're going to fusion summon. We will use the Azamina and the Rising Scale. Summoning out Rising Carp. That will trigger our field spell to draw us a card. You could chain block using Azamina, although there are more important things to chain block. That would have been a great chain block. Damn, that's crazy. I'm protecting the Pot of Greed. I'm protecting the Pot of Greed. You know what I mean? Like, I'm gonna keep that shit around. Now we're gonna go for Rising Carp. Rising Carp, tribute itself. We're gonna summon 4 Deer Note and Madame Spider. Madame Spider then gonna activate, paying 600, grabbing us the Dangerous Gabu. That's gonna be our next draw off the field spell as well. That's gonna be draw number 2. Drawing into Max C. Beautiful. So I'm going to go for Madame Spider and the Deer Note. Going to summon forth the Jam Dragon. Jam Dragon going to activate to search our deck for a level 3 Psychic. And Deer Note's going to activate in our graveyard to bring a monster back from the grave. So normally you bring back Sharkusai. Pretty sure I said this in the previous game. But you bring back Sharkusai. But if you've already got Sharkusai, then you bring back usually a level 8 so that you can do some sort of synchro or fusion or exceed shenanigans. So I'm going to bring back the raising skill here. We've already summoned Jam Fever, so we're not going to be doing anything with the Jam Fever again. We've already got one. But raising skill also has another effect where it's just in and of itself an interruption, which is pretty fucking nice. So we're going to add Ghost Ogre to hand off of our Jam Dragon Drive. We can do a few things here. So, oh, I guess we're doing this. I did not mean to click on that, but I guess that's what we're doing. We're going to banish Deer Note from our graveyard. We're going to summon Ogre Dance directly from our hand. And from here, what you basically want to keep is you want to keep, of course, Sharkusai and a level 8 to go into the Amazing Dragon on your opponent's turn. And of course, you want to keep your Jam Fever. He's a negate, right? What you do with the leftover materials, i.e. 2 of your level 8s, you can either go into IP Masquerena for an SP on your opponent's turn, which is, you know, it's always a nice play. SP is a pretty good card. Or you could go into a rank 8. I personally like going into Hope Harbinger, and there's a lot of really powerful spell cards in the format right now. Especially ones that you don't really want in your opponent's graveyard, and ones that are designed to sort of break boards and such. So varying our types of interruption is very important. We already have monster negates in the form of Dangerous Gabu and the Jam Fever. We're going to have the ability to bounce monsters back to hand using the Amazing Dragon. So having the ability to do something to a card type other than monsters is nice. So basically we're just making sure that we're not going to be blown out by a single spell card. Damn, he's in a tough spot. He tries to negate Maxi. We've got Hope Harbinger for Call by or Crossout. We've got Fever for Ash. Not a good day to be Howie. Ooh, Mannadium. Love some Mannadium. Hell yeah. Grabbing the Meek. If you summon Meek, I'm bouncing it. Yup. Alright, back to hand. Alright, back to the hand. Beautiful card. The Amazing Dragon then on summon is going to be activating to bounce monsters on his field back to that, or cards on his field back to the hand, up to the number of different level 3 Psychic Tuners in my graveyard. And then we also get to draw a card thanks to having paid the cost for Sharkusai's effect. So we also get to draw, which is nice. Ooh. I am going to negate that, because if I don't, he's going to be a real problem. And I know that this has put him in a very difficult spot. So I'm okay with this. Okay, that's fine. Drissworm. Phobia. He's just got Phobia, huh? I know 2 of the cards in his hand don't do anything for him, so I am going to suck up the Phobia. But again, he is in a spot where his resources are depleted. Because the Phobia had already been negated, the Lightheart wouldn't have netted him any advantage. He wouldn't have had anywhere to go off of that play. Even if he played a second copy of the card in deck, he wouldn't have been able to use it. So yeah, he was definitely in a rough spot. Negating the Phobia was definitely the correct call. It is a very key part of the combo, and is really what bridges Mannadium into the rest of the Visa Starfrost archetype. Alright, losing yet another coin toss, and once again being made to go second. However, we do have a really respectable hand here, and an opponent who is likely to be somewhat susceptible to Nibiru if he does not go for Caesar at the correct time. So let's see what he does. If he plays in the Nib, then, you know, we'll see. If he doesn't, then he doesn't. It is what it is. But ultimately, this could be a very good match for us. So let's see what happens. All right. This is it. He's got 2 6s on board, which means we nib now or we nib never. Okay. Nibiru does resolve. It goes through. But will it be enough? Let's see. Token and defense. He has used Lacrima. He's used Tract. He's used... yeah. He's used all of this shit. So, let's see. Oh, shit. Azamina. Yep, that figures. Alright, well, let's see if his Azamina cards can do anything. Alright, so our opponent has gone for a rather simple board here. We do have to deal with at least one Omni Negate, or at least we did. He also has Azamina EF's set, which will allow him, I believe it bounces cards back to hand or something like that. I'd be a liar if I said I read it. So let's start off by using Ogre Dance. Let's see if Ogre Dance will go through. Searching our deck for a starter card. He's got the... I mean, surely I still go for Called By, even though this is redundant. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to let that go, actually. That's... Wow. Wow. He really, really wanted to click that shiny button. Bro's going to be mad when I normal summon Theoman. He's going to be pissed. Okay, EFs. Right. Okay, so he returns Ziyama back to my hand. Okay, that's fine. So now we're going to go for Rising Skill. We're going to banish the Ogre Dance from the graveyard. He has one more possibly useful card. This card here, I don't know what this far left face down is. We're going to go Rising Skill. Rising Skill's effect then going to activate, paying 600 life points, going to grab us a Punk monster from deck. Special summon Azamina to the field. Alright. Activating Azamine's effect, paying 600 life points, going to get searching. We're going to go Amazing Dragon here. We're going to activate his effect. Targeting this card, returning it back to hand. Okay, good. Good. Something is still activatable, which means I think we're somewhat justified in going into an early Jam Fever here. Jam Fever gives us a monster to get, which will stop our opponent from using most hand traps. Now we're going to go for Foxy-Toon. We're going to discard it. We're going to special summon the Sharkusai from the deck. We want to keep the Azamina in the hand because that's what we're going to fuse with our Sharkusai. Going to pay 600. We're going to fuse the Sharkusai and the Azamina. Summoning out Rising Carp. Not going to activate that yet. I guess I could have activated that actually, but it's fine. We're going to go Rising Carp's effect here. Rising Carp then going to special summon 2 monsters from the deck. They're going to summon Deer Note, as well as our Wagon. Good stuff. Activating Wagon. We're going to pay some life points. We're going to grab our Field Spell, which was going to allow us to start drawing cards. So we do need to replenish our hand a little bit. We're looking a little low on resources. We're going to activate that Field Spell. Then we're going to Synchro Summon. We don't need to go drag out. Whatever card he's got that's usable is not going to be a spell or a trap, because this face down card here is Deception. He said it at the end of his turn. So we know that this card is not playable. I say that as I summon drag out. It's been a long recording session. I'm going to keep it a stack. Ah, shit. What did I do? Oh, no. It's fine. I think we still have game. We're going to summon back Azamina. I am going to activate Dragite here. Just to see, again, I don't actually have any rocks left in my deck. But, you know, just want to scare him a little bit. Some emotional damage, some trauma, you know. We get 7,300 damage on field. That's not going to be enough. So what we're going to do is we're going to go above and beyond here. We're going to go into the Psychic and Punisher. It would be a shame if this guy didn't make at least one appearance during this video. We are now going to go for the Azamina's effect. We're going to target our Jam Fever. We're going to boost his attack points up by 600. Just a little bit of a boost. Just a little tiny boost, you know the vibes. What we're going to do now is I'm going to set my cold by, because I really don't think I'm going to need it. You can only banish a monster on my field. That's fine. I'm still going to do this. I'm going to activate Psychic End Punisher. I'm going to target my Nibiru, and I'm going to target his Murcielago. It's going to banish both. That's fine. It's going to allow me to draw a card off of our continuous spell here, a field spell. God, I'm just messing every word up. Every word known to man is being messed up today. But it's fine. It doesn't matter because we're getting into the battle phase. And we're finally going to bring an end to this game after my little mistake. We're going to boost up by the difference in our life points, going up to 6,900 attack points. Nice. 34 to the face. Got anything to say to me? What is that? This card's in your graveyard. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hell nah. You keep that shit in your graveyard. I'm not letting you mess up my lethal. I'm not letting you mess up my game. 34 and 6,900 damage for lethal. All right. Okay. Even though I messed up, that still went pretty well. I'll take it. Good game. So there you go. As you can tell, Punk is most certainly back. We went from Diamond 3 to Diamond 1 in sitting here. I've been recording for about an hour now. And we're just ranking up. It wasn't even my intention to rank up. I just wanted to play the deck and ranked. Now, again, Max C is definitely a hugely polarizing force. This card being put to 2, unfortunately, it doesn't feel like it's been put to 2, right? It doesn't feel any different. Like, am I the only one who's not noticing Max C to 2? It feels exactly the same. It feels like I'm seeing it all the time. It feels like my opponent's seeing it all the time. Ban the card, Konami. But until it is banned, we are definitely going to be playing it, and we're going to try playing around it as best we can. Now, Punk inherently in an in-engine doesn't have a lot of ways of playing around Max C. But we do have a lot of ways of making sure that we're not left in the lurch when it comes to basically any other hand trap. So in terms of our deck's construction, let's talk about our Punk cards first of all. So the small Punks, we of course have 3 copies of Xiamen. This is your main normal summon. It searches any Punk by paying 600 life points. We then have 1 each of Charkusai, Wagon, and Madame Spider, our fusion / quick play synchro summon. In the form of Charkusai, Wagon grabs the field spell, Madame Spider grabs a trap card. All pay life points to activate their effect, which is very important. Dear Note is our level 5, can reveal a Punk in hand as well as itself to special summon one of those cards, sending the other one to the graveyard. So it's an extender, and when it's sent to the graveyard, you can target a Punk in your grave other than a level 5 and special summon it. This is the only level 5, which basically means target any other Punk. Key party for combo. I do run in the 2. You can definitely get away with 1 of this, but it will make a small number of hands a little clunkier. But to be perfectly honest, Dear Note itself is not a fantastic card to see in hand. While it can technically be an extender, it is a little bit costly and it's a little bit awkward. So I could definitely see a lot of decks that will want to play this card at 1 instead of at 2. But it is very, very useful, and it's really nice to have on the clapback. So I like having multiple copies of this card because when it comes around to turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, you're definitely going to want the extra gas that this card can give you. Our level 8s, free Foxy Tune and free Ogre Dance. Ogre Dance is now free of, in my opinion, because of the brand new card Rising Scale, which we also play at free. So Ogre Dance being able to discard itself to grab Xiamen was never really a massive concern in the past because your deck was already consistent enough to where you would replace the Ogre Dance copies with additional hand traps. Now, not only do we want the extra consistency, but specifically discarding this card to put it in graveyard means that once your Xiamen searches for Rising Scale, you already have a Punk engraved to banish, which means Rising Scale is immediately summonable without giving up your Xiamen. Just way more flexible, meaning Ogre Dance is probably the best starter card in this deck, I would say. Foxy Tune, a close second, of course. Foxy Tune, I think, is definitely the second best starter. And I think the reason it's the second best starter is, number one, it's a little more costly because you have to discard itself and a card. Now, that does get you a special summon. But I think Foxy Tune, while it is, of course, a starter because it puts Xiamen on board, which blah, 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 does the rest of your combo, It is definitely, I think, better suited to being an extender, in my opinion. So I think usually trying to avoid using Foxy Tune as your main starter is good, because it means you can use it to play through hand traps or use it as an extender later in the turn. So still free ofs though, absolutely. Every level 8 is a free of. They're all really, really good cards, great consistency boosters, and having the extra access to level 8 monsters means that summoning the likes of your Harbinger, of your Dingirsu, of, you know, making sure you have access to 8s for your Amazing Dragon, it just makes the whole extra deck element of the deck a little bit more consistent as well. And more 8s means more Punisher too. So definitely as many 8s as you can get. Then we got the one field spell, of course, you've all seen that in play, and one trap card, the Dangerous Gabu. You can choose the other trap card if you want, the Nashawari. Both are good. You can play both, even if you wanted to. They're not terrible cards. I just think I prefer Dangerous Gabu over the Nashawari, purely because if you just draw the Dangerous Gabu, then it's still playable. Whereas this card, without having a Punk on field, is really not that good. So yeah, that's the only difference. And then triple E-Telly. E-Telly to 3, finally. They listened. They put this card to 3. Awesome. Great extender. Don't use it as often as I thought I was going to be honest, when I first picked the deck up, but having it at 3 is definitely very nice. That does it for your Punk cards. With the Kashtira cards, we got one Fenrir, we got double Unicorn, and we got one copy of Birth and one copy of the Pressure Planet. The Kashtira cards giving you access to a level 7 engine for a level 10 Synchro Toolbox. We're only playing Baron, but you can play more if you want. Because these guys, you know, especially Unicorn searching for Birth, meaning you just summon the Unicorn, search for Birth, use Unicorn plus a level 3 to go into Baron, and then Birth brings back the Unicorn again, and you can go into another level 10 if you want. Although 99% of the time, I would just keep the Unicorn as an extender, or maybe even as an Embor piece. Fenrir, of course, broken card, and Pressure Planet for consistency. So the Kashtira engine, really self-explanatory, but I do think that it is virtually mandatory. I know a lot of people are going to prefer to just play 5 extra hand traps in these spots, and by all means, you do you. But I think if you're not playing the cash cards, you're missing out on a lot of not only consistency, but also breaking power going second in particular. So yeah. And then the rest of the deck is non-engine. So I play a lot of one-ofs. We got one of Velar, one of Duel, one of Ghost Ogre, because this card is searchable as a level 3 Psychic Tuner. One of Nib, one of Imperm. So you'll notice a lot of one-ofs going on in this list. Those ratios could definitely be whatever you want. I mainly played everything at 1 because we draw a lot of cards, meaning I want to have hand traps of different names so that I can use as many of them as possible. However, what would likely be a more impactful approach is if you chose to focus on some of the more impactful ones. So you can either take the approach of going for hand traps that have easy activation conditions and spamming them as much as possible, so think Veilers and Imperms. Or you could instead take some of the big bads and focus on hand traps that are going to generate you the absolute most returns on their activation, that being the likes of Droll or Nibiru. Now, what are the trade-offs? Of course, easy activation conditions, Velar, Imperm, the likes of that, means that you're always going to be able to do something to your opponent, but the threat is that it's not going to be enough. A lot of decks can eat a Velar and keep playing, eat an Imperm and keep playing. Some decks can even eat 2 Imperms or Veilers and keep playing as if nothing had happened. So part of the threat of playing these easy to activate cards is that they're not going to do a ton. Conversely, the likes of Droll and Nibiru are significantly more powerful and impactful. But number one, they are once per turn cards, meaning that if you draw multiples, they're normally dead cards in hand. Their activation conditions aren't as straightforward, so you may miss the mark on your opponent being able to activate it at the right time against your opponent. And they're also known and capable of being played around. With Nibiru in particular, you may have Fiendsmith decks or other decks that are trying to put up Appos or Caesars or whatever before they go into their 5th summon. Not so much right now. Nib's pretty quiet right now, so not a lot of decks, not a lot of players are playing around it. So you'll see a reasonable amount of success with Nibiru. But as the metagame shifts, the utility of Nibiru will increase and decrease, and so too then will the likelihood of players adapting to play around it. Duel is a card that more advanced players typically play around to some extent. It's not a card you can play around in the same way as Nibiru, but you can definitely make a number of plays before making yourself vulnerable to Duel, and you can definitely think up some Duel safe lines to help prevent your like vulnerability to Duel. So these cards, they're way more impactful, but they're not always going to be usable at the right time, and your opponent may play around them to some extent, especially in formats where those cards are much more popular and when you're against better players. Is the long way of talking about that. And that philosophy applies to any deck, by the way. It applies more so to Punk because part of Punk's strategy is drawing hand traps, which is why I'm focusing on it so much. But you can apply that same philosophy to any deck when it comes to just general deck building. And then outside of our sort of one-ofs, we of course got double Max C, triple Ash Blossom, double Call By, and single Crossout, as you do in any deck that is vulnerable to the Roach. That's the main deck, fairly straightforward, not a lot changed in terms of regular Punk other than adding in our new cards. For the extra, we've got one Rising Carp as usual, one Dragite, it's an amazing spell trap negate, and double Dragon Drive, which has been very useful. Baron because of our Kashtira cards. If you're not playing the cash cards, you just cut Baron because you can't go into 10s, but with the cash cards, having Baron here is huge. Double Amazing Dragon, you need 2 of this card now. You need 2 of this card. People used to play 2 of it because it was nice to have. You now need to have 2 of it because you will almost always use 1 on your first turn to go into your Jam Fever and using it as an extender. So you need to have 2 of this card now. Psychic and Punisher because it's based as hell. Hope Harbinger, I think, is really important. Your deck plays a lot of ways of going into rank 8, so I think having at least one generic, good, powerful rank 8 is very key. I also have Dingirsu here. I've never played Dingirsu, so it hasn't really come up. I can see its usefulness, which is why it's here, but if you have another card in mind that you want to slot in to this spot, by all means, Dingirsu, I think, is the first card you cut. Double Jam Fever. I've yet to play a second one. There's an argument to be made that you only need 1 of this card, but given how easy it is to summon, I don't know why you wouldn't play a second. It just seems like a really powerful card to play, so I think 2 of it is probably better. Almirage is necessary. You need it for most of your lanes that involve no Punk Zayaman, and going in the Rising Scales will need you to have Almirage in your extra deck so you contribute the Zayaman going into it. So Almirage is a utility piece. It also enables SP Little Knight to immediately banish a card on the field, which you would have saw in one of our replays. I believe the first one, actually. So Almirage and SP definitely key, and Masquerena is here for a similar reason, although admittedly this card has not yet come up. If you're really tight on space, Dingirsu and IP are definitely cards you can talk about cutting. Jam Fever, you can talk about cutting the 1. Jam Dragon Drive, you can talk about cutting the 1. I haven't really needed a second copy of this, but we have been in plenty of situations where I could see it being useful. So there's a little bit of flex here. You can definitely work with a couple of these cards if you wanted to play around with other options. Gossip Shadow is a really good option for like a rank 3 nib protection. That card in particular is really nice. You might want to go for an Apo. This deck can definitely spam out more monsters, way more monsters than it used to be able to do, which would make the likes of an Apo much easier to access. So there's definitely other cards you can talk about adding. For now though, this is the list and I've been having a blast and you've seen it work, right? Again, we went up 2 ranks in this one recording session. So pick it up, give it a try, especially if you're a fan of the old style of Punk. I think you will like this a lot. If you did like the video, then make sure you leave a like on it and you subscribe to the channel to catch more as they come out. I'll chat to you all next time. Bye-bye.